Within the last 2 days, China has warned EV manufacturers, and not just EV makers, but brands in China, to stop the price wars before it's too late. Hey guys, I've got an EcoFlow Delta 2 right here and the Delta Pro, which is about 4 times bigger than this. I've used them over the past 2 months many times. I didn't think I would, but I've needed them. There's been electrical problems in the house. There's been massive storms here in Australia. They've been absolutely, for me, game-changing, life-saving. Up to 45% off sale. I'll put a link in the description, and I think that's on for the next 3 weeks. So click on that link. You can take advantage and get one of these batteries for a really good price. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. Great to have you with us. As you know, I've reported on Chinese car brands, EV brands in particular, ever since I started this channel. And I am a big fan of them, 100%. I own a Chinese EV. I would own there's probably about 20 other models of Chinese EVs from various brands that I would love to own, as you guys know. But the price wars in China are definitely hurting the companies. And I mean, numerous brands have admitted to this fact. The CEO of Xpeng even called this a bloodbath. The electric vehicle boom in China hasn't just been about innovation, very much been about innovation. It's also been a big part of the story has been an ongoing price war that's turned the market into something resembling a discount electronics aisle, says Car Scoops. And they've got a good point here. I was kind of thinking to myself today, I was looking at electronics prices at a place called Harvey Norman and JB Hi-Fi, and I was thinking, wow, the prices are just so low of a lot of this stuff. And it sort of does feel similar to that in China. The price war among Chinese EV makers has been raging for a few years now, and this has played a part in the massive disruption we've seen in China. But the local government has called for an end to the practice, aiming to help excessive competition and prevent what is known as a race to the bottom among local car manufacturers. Whether or not the war will stop, well, that's an entirely different question. I'd say it's probably unlikely. But I do think that a race to the bottom can be not necessarily a good thing for the industry. And in fact, often when there is a race to the bottom in an industry, it does partially destroy that industry. Executives from several local car brands, local EV brands, were recently called to Beijing with government officials urging them to self-regulate, says CNBC. The country's market regulator echoed the message, calling for efforts to comprehensively rectify involuntary competition, a term Chinese premier, the Premier of China has reused in his recent annual work report to describe the increasingly self-defeating market dynamics. New EV and plug-in hybrid prices in China have been cut repeatedly in the last 2 years as automakers in China are aiming for market share, and they are getting it. They are disrupting legacy automakers, Nissan, Honda, Mitsubishi, these major General Motors, these major car brands that have long made billions of dollars in China. They're basically making very little, if anything, at this point in time. Many of them making a loss now as a result. But the China Association of Automobile Manufacturers weighed in, saying that disorderly price wars intensify vicious competition. The group also called out BYD, without naming it directly, noting that a certain automaker has taken the lead in launching significant price cuts, and many companies have followed suit, triggering a new round of price war panic. There's a direct quote from the government themselves. So I think it's fair to say that that's accurate, considering BYD have reduced prices by 10 to 34% on, I think, 24 different models of car. That's after they'd already had other discounts in the last 12 months. According to CNBC, China's Ministry of Industry and Information Technology plans to increase regulation of non-productive competition and is looking to enforce laws promoting fair competition. However, some are doubtful that this will work and suspect that the price wars are only going to intensify. Xpeng's chief executive, the CEO, he doesn't sound too optimistic about a ceasefire. This is what he said. Competition will become more intense in the next 5 years, describing the current situation as merely an appetizer for what's ahead. He even predicted that there'll only be 5 to 7 car makers left in China after it's all over, meaning the other 85 car companies will either have to join together or go bankrupt. Most of them will go bankrupt, it appears to be what he's predicting. In his speech, which I saw in person in China, that's what he said. He said, well, we are currently the 7th largest manufacturer. We have to become the 5th largest to make sure that we're not one of the ones that gets eaten, essentially. Speaking to CNBC, analysts at Nomura shared that perspective, saying that with an ongoing oversupply of vehicles, the worst of the pricing wars may still yet be on the horizon. And interestingly, Geely's chairman, the founder of Geely, who has a net worth of $17 billion US, he weighed in on this. He said there is an enormous global oversupply. And as a result, Geely will pause. They will not build any more factories worldwide this year, even though they're one of the fastest growing automakers in the world. Over the past 2 years, the average retail price of a new car in China has fallen by 19%, now sitting at around $22,000 US. And if you look in China, there's a lot of modern new cars around, and they're not cheap looking cars. Some of them are, but most of them are actually quite nice cars. It's the times that I've been there a few times recently. You can see a lot that basically the fleet is much more modern than Australia's car fleet. The question, whether these low prices can last without breaking something in the process, has already been answered. There's already been a few bankruptcies in China last year, and there'll be more over the coming few years. Here's the interesting thing, though. I don't think people are correct when they say that this is just hurting Chinese automakers. It's clearly not. It's clearly having a massive effect on companies like Porsche even. I mean, you wouldn't think so, would you? But Porsche sales have crashed in China. What about Audi? Same situation. Mercedes-Benz, exactly the same. So it's not just affecting Chinese car manufacturers, it's affecting premium German ones, but it's also affecting Nissan, obviously. Automakers from Japan, massively. Honda sales down as well. Mitsubishi, Mazda sales down significantly in China. General Motors sales crashed. I mean, basically, one of GM's divisions there, their sales basically have gone down from about 600,000 to 100,000 within only the space of a few years. And they're saying that sector of General Motors will crash and cease to do business in China. That's not just GM. I mean, look, Jeep went bankrupt in China. Mitsubishi actually just left China last year, just took off. All their factories are just sitting there gathering dust. This is going to happen to more automakers. It's not going to be just the Chinese ones. The Chinese ones, if anything, they have a bit of an advantage because their factories are producing electric cars, new modern production lines. They're not making all these old crap internal combustion cars that people don't really want. I mean, some people in Australia still want them for some reason. I don't know why. But the truth is, the big car market here is the Chinese car market. We're looking at 32 million car sales a year. That's 32 times larger than the Australian car market. So the reality is here that in China, people are choosing the more modern, newer EVs. They're choosing, if they're going to buy a hybrid, they're not choosing a traditional Toyota hybrid. They're choosing a plug-in hybrid or an EREV. So that's where the market's going. We're looking at 55% market share last month. 55%. So really this global capacity oversupply, it's not really for electric cars. It's not really an oversupply. Yeah, there's dealerships in China, a lot of them that have an oversupply right now, but globally the real picture is this. There is a massive oversupply of cars that are internal combustion, and factories, there is a massive glut of these factories that can produce internal combustion cars that aren't going to be needed or really aren't even needed today.